Moxie Press podcast.
Moxie Press is a small independent publisher on a mission to shake things up. Through witty and insightful works, we strive to help build a better, smarter, more forward-thinking world.
I'm Jessie, the owner of Moxie Press, here with my partner in life and in mischief, Andrew Dodson.
Hello,
and our very, very, very special guest, the beautiful, wonderful, talented. He's an actor, a rapper. I have all this stuff written down and I'm not even looking at it anymore. Actor, rapper, activist, jack of all trades, our friend, the wonderful Lyndon Laveaux.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. What's going on?
Okay, so we know you.
Yeah.
We know you from college,
Mhm.
but for our audience, who are you?
Hi guys, I'm Lyndon Laveaux. I've been an artist since I would say 12, like just poetry, been writing poetry since I was 12. It provided an escape from a very like harsh reality. My mom and I moved around a lot. I come from a single mother, so that came with its own fallacies because I started learning through therapy that I would take on a lot of like my mom's burdens as a little kid because I didn't want to like bother her. Like essentially, like I was so observant as a kid and introverted that I would see how much my mom was struggling. So I wouldn't want to add to her plate. I wouldn't want to add to it. So to exhaust that, I started writing. I started writing thoughts and ideas, and poetry was just something that gave me a sense of relief. And eventually I got into acting as a young kid because that provided an escape. Because now I don't have to be Lyndon. I can escape that. And through certain levels of trauma, I started going away from like music, because I've always had music in my life since like the beginning. My mom had an eclectic ear, so she would put on music from like the 80s, 90s, and today. And that was also what transferred my love for poetry because I was always fascinated by lyrics. So it provided an escape, but eventually, like, I didn't want to be me, so I went into acting full time. But the way the universe worked, God, or whatever, however you articulate your spirituality or not, like the way things come together, I would always find myself being pulled back into music. Like there were people around me who were just really good at rapping. And the thing is, in Miami, they don't really like, nobody wants to teach you how to do anything. You know what I mean? Like now it's changed. Like everybody's like all helpful and shit. But like coming up, like it was like, no, I'm dope at it. You gotta like teach yourself. I have to help myself. You know what I mean? And the talent in Miami when it came to rapping was so vast and like intimidating that I was like, nah, I'll stick with acting. I'm really good at this. You know what I mean? I'm really good at this. This feels like I'll never be able to get here. You know what I mean? Then when I got to college, I met you two and our poetry group and writing group, which was great, and that got me more focused into writing, which led to spoken word poetry. And the spoken word poetry was really close with hip hop because you still create your own rhythm in that, but the thing is, with hip hop, you're kind of being forced to be on a measure and a meter. You know what I mean? So that was always my struggle when I was doing spoken word and eventually transferring into hip hop was finding the rhythm, finding the pockets in music, which was like the curve, the curve for me was so long, but I had great mentors. I had like Steve Connell, who was, he did Def Poetry when that was coming up, Def Jam Poetry, for those who don't know. One of HBO's like, live poetry shows. Alicia Keys was on that. DMX, a young Kanye West before Unhinged Kanye West. Well, kind of always unhinged, but like levels of it. You know what I mean? It was like Hinge Light back then, but
an expensive element of Unhinged.
you know what I mean? So I had mentors like that who taught me kind of how to be in pockets within the spoken word rhythm. You know what I mean? So eventually I met this girl, Desanti, who would push me to do music because she was like, you know what? I would listen to your poetry and it sounds like you should be rapping. So eventually I took the leap of faith and started doing it. In 2013, I put out a terrible mixtape that went triple plastic. And like, because, okay, for those who do recording artists, there's there's rapping and then there's like actually recording it and doing it. And they're like two vastly different things. And it took me a long time to get them together. You know what I mean? So eventually I had a buddy named Ray Mitchell who helped me become a way better recording artist. Even like when writing, I started learning that, okay, with spoken word poetry, you can put as many phrases in a bar as you want because you're in charge of the meter and the measurement. You're not in the prison of like a meter. You know what I mean? It's like you create your own meter essentially. You know what I mean? But learning that like, okay, I don't need that many syllables in this phrase. You know what I mean? Let me take this out so it can make a cleaner sound. I didn't think in sound before, but now I think of myself when I'm recording. It's almost like, okay, there's the beats, right? And then I'm just another beat. You know what I mean? Almost like I'm just words. You know what I mean? I'm words, but it's music, but it's just another layer of music. So it's like when I'm rapping, it's almost like without sounding like uh gross, but it's almost like making love. You can't like it can't be on one rhythm. You know what I mean? Like it can't be all about me. You know what I mean? It can't be. I have to pay attention. I have to pay attention to what's going on. So, and eventually, learning how to be in sync with music and being comfortable in those pockets and writing to finding my own voice because there's the finding of your own voice. I remember hearing J. Cole talk about when you start rapping, you're like almost like biting everybody that you're listening to. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like you don't know what your voice is, and once I found what my voice was and how I land on things and started working with great people like my producers, the track runners who made plaques with Sean Kingston and DJ Khaled and Trina and all these things like to think about that when they're mixing my music, I'm in the same file as some of these great guys. It's like whoa, but it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work, and just like because when I told you guys earlier, because what's great about when you talk about the forward thinking, there's as an artist, you eventually reach a point where you're asking yourself, am I doing it for the sake of love, or am I doing it am I still a young kid chasing the external validation? And the thing is, even like with recent beefs, we could have a whole conversation about that. But I've been forced myself not to. But it's sort of like we watched in real time superficiality versus substance. Like we saw it and be on display in real time. And eventually, as an artist, you start asking yourself, "What am I doing this for?" And when I started asking, with both acting and music, I started going, "No, I'm doing this for the sake of love." And that's when I grew in the craft because as you two being married, right? There are things you've had to learn about each other, right? And then when you guys lived with each other, it's like, oh shit, this nigga does that, like you know what I mean? Like you gotta adjust, and there's a level of compromise, you know what I mean? But it's like for the betterment of the marriage, you're gonna work at it. You know what I mean? I think people enjoy the idea, the ceremony of marriage, but I think seldom are we preparing for the actual marriage. It's cool to have the party and everything like that, but it's like, oh shit, what happens after? I don't think a lot of people think about that part. But everybody's on their journey. You go where you're supposed to go. And with music and with acting, I realized if I love this, then I want to get better at it. And eventually, when I started doing shit just for the sake of love and getting better at it, that's when I started people taking notice. I'll put it to you this way: I won't name names. I remember one time on a time, there was like producers I worked with, right? And their management said I couldn't put their name attached to mine because it like the music I was putting out wasn't like of good source. You know what I mean? Triple plastic. I told you. You know what I mean? The bar was low. You know what I mean? So like, and once you put something out, and that's the thing, once you put something out that's whack, you gotta like earn people's trust again. You know what I mean? And eventually, because I was so dedicated and work hard, now it's like I got those same people wanting to work with me now. You know what I mean? Excited to work with me. But I think the best step for any artist, and what you can hear from my voice, is that if you honor you, if you're always focused from like, if you move from a place of like integrity, and you got to ask yourself what your values are and what you're willing to sacrifice, those are personal questions that, different variants of why people make their decisions. But for me, it was like, I find that if I move from a place of authenticity and whatever I'm doing, whether it's writing, acting, because even acting, right? You're the medium for someone else's dream, essentially. You know what I mean? Someone else wrote that, or same thing with singers. You know, like Dolly Parton was singing "I Will Never," what is it?
I will
"I
always
Will
love
Always Love You." You know what I mean? And fucking Whitney Houston sang it, and we all thought it was hers. You know what I mean? Just because no one had a voice like Whitney. You know, singers are still they're powerful mediums as well. So it's like I ask myself, but I still believe that no one can sound like Whitney. You know what I mean? So it's like you get a script, you get a role. No one could be that but you. So you just do the best at what you do, you know what I mean? And whatever that is. And we all have different gifts. So with music, I had to ask myself, what type of MC am I? You know what I mean? Like, and I knew that I always wanted to write my own stuff. I knew that that was very important. I've had, producers again. I've been in rooms where like they were like, "Hey, we got this writer that you might want to collab with," and the writer would get a feel from me. I remember one time these popular producers had the writer come to a session with me, and he ended up saying like, "Nah, Lyndon isn't gonna let anybody write for any of him. Like, he's a he's a writer. Like, this is my job. I can tell when someone needs me or wants me. He doesn't, and I think my journey's been a longer, and I'm still going through it. There's still other things I want to achieve because I've worked with producers who've got plaques. I've done collab projects with people who've opened up for Project Pat, shout out the Young Tez, you know what I mean? We've got projects that continue, I'm in those conversations. I remember figuring out my own voice, Sam I am, cat and hat. While I was doing that, Taz was like opening up for like Twista. Like so the fact that this person is in my camp and my teammate now is I never take for granted. You know what I mean? So again, it goes back authenticity. So I find the authentic route, no matter how long it is, it's more like spiritual food, more like nourishment, spiritual nourishment. So as to my elongated answer to who I am, I'm an artist just trying to figure it out, do my best. I get to work with some really talented, great people, and I just want to put music out that. Because the thing is, I won't be the guy that's always going to put out that preachy music. You know what I mean? I don't mean that, but it's like I feel like everybody's layered. Everybody's like multiple degrees. I think the thing is, as long as that degree is actually you, you know what I mean? So it's like, if I have a party record, like I've got a record that's coming out, we're in the strip club, right? But I'm talking about the girl I really like. Like in my verse, I'm articulating, like, I'm really talking about one person, but it sounds really good and it works and people like it. But look, my reality is, I don't fuck a lot of chicks, man. I sound a lot cooler than I actually am. That's the thing. Like, what was that?
but you
Good.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, thank you. If I could have blushed, that means a lot. like, you know what I mean? Like, in my acting and my music, I sound really cool, really smooth. In life, I'm kind of like, hey, you like bread? You know what I mean? So my reality is, I really like this one chick, and I'll rap about it, but I'll talk about it in a grouchy way that sounds cool, but that's my reality, but still sounds good. So that's my journey. Some people will make verses about lives they've never lived, and they can go home and sleep with that. I'd rather make choices in my life that when I go to bed, I like you can go to bed with ease. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to treat people and move in my career in a way that I can sleep and feel good about myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I've known producers who've worked with big known directors, right? But I heard some of their political views, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, that nigga kind of wild. Like I know I work at Hooters right now, but I'm just gonna be stuck it out. And like I'd rather do that than sell. Like I don't want ever, and I've talked to some of my industry friends. I don't ever want my thoughts bought.
Hmm.
I don't want that. I don't like. I'd rather stand on who I am. Now, of course, I don't have to react to everything that goes on. But if I speak on something,
Hmm.
I want it to be who I actually am. Not because like my boss is from this campaign or this. I don't want to be a puppet on a vignette. So I'm an artist who says fuck their strings.
Absolutely, absolutely
Love it.
love it. So Lyndon is our May author spotlight. He wrote a piece titled "Empathy Letter" that we absolutely fell in love with, and if you have it, I'd love for you to read it for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me pull that up. Okay. Empathy letter. The lack of empathy will be the death of humanity. The idea of solely looking out for self is, although may seem ironic, the sentiment is antithetical to our survival. I can speak to famine, genocide, poverty, greed, all filled with nuance of the human existence, but rooted in people being driven by fear, insecurity, scarcity mentality. By thinking there's only enough for me, we find ourselves sacrificing our humanity for the sake of profit, turning a blind eye to another's humanity for the sake of dogma, but truth finds a way. There's many pathways to the truth. Divinity holds many tongues. To hold your truth as the most virtuous is an ego trap. Now, of course, you have your core values. Hold esteem to what's important to you, but be open to the idea that you can always learn more. And sometimes those lessons may come in the most unexpected of places. There's a significant difference between knowledge and wisdom. We have accessibility to of knowledge at our fingertips, but it's through experience we gain wisdom. A Republican may be anti-gay till their daughter is. It's through connection we break past apathy and cultural programming. The extremities of any belief do not represent the whole, but sensationalism sells, especially when chasing an algorithm. So what can we rely on when it seems like most outlets are just chasing a digital carrot to no ends? Well, we lean on each other, hold ourselves accountable, especially those in power. The Matrix, it's always going to be the Matrix. But as long as we remember the rules of the game and that the key to freedom will always be within, we can endure. But to move past that, I believe we must hold a mirror to nature in a way that's uncomfortable both individually and globally. Each generation is given an opportunity to advance the zeitgeist for the better. What will you choose? To see past one's experience can be Herculean, but on the other side of that is freedom. When we understand to our core that past caste systems, past AIs, past hashtags, we are one. Everything else becomes trivial. Don't take those stoner thoughts with a grain of salt. In addition, a reminder that although the world through brainwashing will make you thrive in division, your wings will take new heights when you can see yourself in another.
Woo.
Love it, love it. So your piece opens with a powerful statement about the lack of empathy potentially being fatal for humanity. Can you
Mhm.
speak on that and kind of what brought you to that conclusion?
Well, for me, it's because we're watching it in the world. You know what I mean? We're watching collective punishment happen on a grand scale. You know what I mean? Because, and I'm gonna be observant in the sense of like we all remember what happened October 7th. I can honestly say that was heartbreaking to watch. If I watch any of my family members see it, even like I can even feel my tears start to like some of those screams live with me. You know what I mean? Like you go, wow, right? But eventually, because especially because I'm watching this through, because we all see the world through the prism of our own ignorance, right? And as we grow, as experience, our depth widens. You know what I mean? So I'm coming from like a certain level of healing, but I've also had friends who, if someone busted at them, they would bust back, and then there comes a circle. There comes a circle that happens. You know what I mean? They're like you kill somebody's cousin, somebody kills your uncle. Now we're just and then eventually we forget how it all started in the first place. You know what I mean? Until eventually somebody says, "Hey guys, stop! Don't you know red and blue makes purple? Let's do that." You know what I mean? Someone eventually says like, "Hey, like the majority of us is one race, so why are we killing each other?" You know what I mean? So, but somebody has to say it, and the thing is, that voice is gonna be like is submerged by other because there's gonna be people who can't let it go. who can't let it go. And I say the lack of empathy will be the death of us is that, and we watched this with 9/11, and I think that's what's in the back of my head too when I think about that. I think about 9/11, and I remembered Richard Gere. I think it was Richard Gere. Richard Gere went up and spoke, let's do peace. And he got booed. I remember he got booed, and because he's a Buddhist, and he was just like, "Yo, guys, what's gonna happen?" Everybody wanted blood. Everybody, because we felt that on a visceral level. We were like, "Hold up, this can't happen here." You know what I mean? This can't happen on that scale. Fuck up everybody, and then eventually we ended up in a proxy war,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually finding out that the weapons of mass destruction weren't in Iraq. You know what I mean?
Whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these bodies dropped because of anger, because a knee jerk reaction, understandable knee jerk reaction. You know what I mean? Again, I never want to take away how it feels to lose somebody. You know what I mean? I've buried more people than I care to think about in my own personal life, and I'm grateful for every time I wake up because I know this life is tepid can be. You know what I mean? But it's the responsibility of the living how we want this life to continue. You know what I mean? So when I watch on the news a lot, what's heartbreaking is that we watch Palestinians being clumped all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. It's like, but Hamas. And these college students are protesting Hamas. No, they are not. Like, every time I hear that shit, it's infuriating. Like, cause you guys fucking know better. Like, the people reporting this know fucking better. They know because when you talk to these kids, they aren't they're protesting a ceasefire, and people go, "Oh, we're in a, fuck it." Like I enjoy Bill Maher, right? But he's always had a blind spot for this shit, right? He's just always had. He just like there's just some like I watch him every week tell black people to get out of like political identity, and he can't let go of his. It's what the fuck are we talking about? You know what I mean? So it's at times extremely frustrating because I just want people to be truthful of their bias.
Mm-hmm.
If we can start from there, we start from just, oh, okay, hey, I do have okay, when I saw Jewish people being attacked like that, I reacted, and then I could go, okay, got you. That's a human reaction, but now you're seeing like countless, I don't know how you can countlessly watch babies, like
Right.
the amount of dead babies I've seen,
Yeah.
like, is I can't like I remember because my brother passed away years ago by way of suicide, right? And I remember the voice my mom made. It's a sound. It's a sound I never want to hear again. Like it was like so from her gut. You know what I mean? And you see that all the time.
Yeah.
You see it all the time on sites. You know what I mean? We're all watching it, and it feels like the Vietnam War almost because it wasn't until we saw the recordings of the Vietnam because it's easy. Like if it's far away, apathy is easy to sit in.
Yes.
If it's far away, if it doesn't feel close, that's why 60s pictures from the 1960s and a lot of those civic movements are in black and white because it's the idea to make you think,
Right.
oh, it was way
Yeah.
back when Ruby Bridges is still alive. You fucking idiot! Whoever says these things, you know what I mean? And we're watching systemic shit happen on in display in real time. With the Vietnam War, if it wasn't for the fact that we saw that and we went, oh my God, okay, we need to pull back. Why are we even there? We didn't even remember why we were there. And we're watching this proxy war happen again. Because the thing is, the collective punishment that's happening on this massive scale
Yes.
is only going to create more Hamas. It's only going to create, because again, the human existence is cyclical. You know what I mean? We go in circles, like simultaneously. So, and again, with ceasefires, with the asinine idea of just being like, oh, we're letting Hamas get away with it. No, ceasefire means hostages go home and bombs stop dropping. Fair exchange, you know what I mean? But again, it's this visceral reaction to get back. You know what I mean? We look at why people don't want to talk about prison reform because people go, oh, who cares? Who cares about the inmates? Like they did the crime, did the time. Who cares about their comfort? Trust me, like being in jail is not the spot at bare minimum, at least humanity still has to be there. Because it's at the end of the day, they're still gonna serve their time in a place that's egregious to say the least. You know what I mean? To say the fucking least. So they're still getting their punishment. You know what I mean? At bare minimum, they shouldn't be sleeping in their own feces. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be par for the course. You know what I mean? And I'm saying if we don't learn to see each other, because it's like you go, oh, I would never do a crime. Or, okay, but what if you can't pay your parking ticket, right? And what if you can't bond out?
Mm-hmm.
What if the jail's really full? Now you have to serve your time in a place you thought you would never serve. You know what I mean? It can happen to anybody. It's like walking past a homeless person. Walking past a homeless person. Like, I've had friends make arguments with me. Oh, then they're just gonna do drugs. Whatever. Like, I don't care because to me it's like it's my choice. Do I want to help this person or not? What this person does with this money, I don't give a fuck. Because I made the choice to help this person. You know what I mean? Because if it can happen to anybody, like me and my mom lived a life where like if we didn't have family to like bounce from because we were couch surfing together for like a while. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, we stayed at a motel and they eventually locked it on us because my mom couldn't like pay it and we had to like just take whatever we had on our backs and just jump with family. If we didn't have family, we would have been homeless. That's just it. My mom likes to whitewash our past because guilt, but but no, it happened. It happened. Like there's so I know personally that it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. I never thought I would be the person to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not gonna put it on display, but fill in the blanks. I never thought I'd be the person to do certain things to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But I did until I needed to pay my own rent, until my mom couldn't help me, and I'm trying to stay in LA, trying to be this artist, and now, oh my God, I'm doing this. I never thought I would be doing this, but so I don't judge when people are in survival mode. You know what I mean? Because again, if you don't learn to see past yourself, then the world is just small,
Yeah.
and then again, it becomes easy to just dismiss. It's easy to demonize. It's easy to demonize. Easy to say, like, oh yeah, well, they're just part of a terrorist group. Oh, oh, Hamas uses them as a human shield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. If you want to use that argument, there's still a fucking human shield that's getting.
Still a human. It's a human. That's
That's
the key word there. You're missing
the
that
operative word right
human.
there, right fucking there. And that's the thing. It's we gotta there has to be a permanent ceasefire because it could happen to anybody, and to not to dismiss a mother's cry is abhorrent to me. You know what I mean? And if you want to be honest, I'd rather you say, I can't look at it, because then you're just trying, at least you're somewhat acknowledging the humanity of it. You know what I mean? The discomfort. You know what I mean? But to dismiss it and just throw it to October 7th, well, October 7th, yeah, I get it, but the get back, like it's sort of like watching someone, like it's American History X. Hey, dude, the guy's down. You don't have to curb stomp him. Like he is down. You shot him. His gun is got like.
Yeah.
Nah, put your teeth to the curb, and you're like, yeah, he gotta serve his time, man. like, I know they shot his crib, but he made that nigga felt like bite the curb. Like, you know what I mean? Like we gotta like the ramifications. The justification to me. I think we're way past it now. I think we're high past it, and I think you gotta I think you gotta have uncomfortable conversations with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
where you gotta say, are you okay with this? If you're okay with it, that's cool. Again, that's your choice. I'll never knock anybody's choice. I will on the inside, but like you know what I mean. On the inside, I'll be like, wow, what a dick. You know what I mean? But like I'm gonna let you live because everybody's got to go through their own journey. But you got to really ask yourself, like, are you okay with it? And people again want to say, oh, it's not a genocide. People don't know how to use genocide. What is it then? Then you tell me what the fuck it is, man, because it looks cleansy like. If it walks like a duck, quacks like it looks very like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's and again when people will try to dismiss it when they'll go, oh, not every Israeli is white. Nobody said that. Like stop trying to like gaslight me, man. We all see it. We all see the carnage. So we gotta ask ourselves, are we okay with this? And and then as an American, okay, if you want to play the American game, fine. Want to play the politic game, fuck it. Your tax dollars. I owe Uncle Sam a few dollars. I definitely didn't get my return this year, you know what I mean? But fuck it. If my taxes are gonna go build a school, that makes sense to me. Cool. It's gonna help a single mom, that'd be great, you know what I mean? But then I go, I don't think I want my money to go there and support massacring people. I'm not cool with that. People were like Muhammad Ali was a narcissist because he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go against his religion. And he's like, you want me to go kill people in a war I don't believe in? That don't make sense. That don't make sense. So it's like again. So it's like our tax dollars. This is what it's funding. If we're being very candid about it, this is what it's funding. And again, it's like, are we okay with that? You know what I mean? Granted, we could talk about the political spectrum of things. At the end of the day, it feels binary because until the game is really broken down and we start over with the whole shit, we've got choices, but it's like each choice comes with its ramifications. So it's like, what do we choose? You know what I mean? Because it can get worse. It can get much worse. So again, like I think humanity needs to come first. You know what I mean? Like I feel like as a black man, for example, I feel like all we're ever asking, I think, at the end of the day, is see our humanity and see our humanity. So it's like, are you okay with people being stripped of their humanity and just being in a proxy war? Because that's all there is. It's bodies on a chessboard for people. It suits it suits making decisions that affect the lives of countless. You know what I mean? So it's again, the power has to come back to the people, and it begins with us seeing each other. If we don't see each other in any sort of capacity, if you don't, and I wrote in that a letter of empathy. If we're gonna sacrifice our empathy just for dogma, whether it's political dogma, religious dogma, that's crazy. That's crazy because all the Buddha, all the monks, all the spiritual gurus, all the spiritual expressions you want to articulate, each one of those masters will tell you, no, see the other person. If people want to have the spiritual expression of Christianity, all Jesus said was, hey, believe in God and love your neighbor. That's all you have to do. Like, everybody wants to like make it into something else. He was like, nah, no, just see him as you and believe in your father if that's what you want to look at God as. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, like, stop it. Stop it. Just stop the bullshit. Like, because at the end of the day, if we don't see each other, the powder keg will explode until there's nothing left. Like if you look at the pandemic, I look at it as because I see things through like signals and like symbolism, and you look at even I feel like the Earth is tired of us, bruh. Gaia's fucking frustrated. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like we gotta, and I think even with the pandemic, that was like almost like a reset. We saw like a bunch of bodies just go. I've got friends who lost their mom. I lost an aunt. You know what I mean? We saw people go. Like I think the rapture would be that. You know what I mean? And it's like, what are we, the ones that are left behind? What are we supposed to do with that information? I think the pandemic was an opportunity for us to level up in our humanity. You know what I mean? And I feel like this right here is our test. So it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to turn a blind eye to genocide? Because it is that. You may want to dress it up and put it in different words. It's because it's comfortable not to call it genocide. Then I could justify me being for it. You know what I mean? Because when you've got Israelis within Israel protesting it.
Right.
Within Israel, you know what I mean? We're not talking about the Gaza Strip. Within Israel, saying like Netanyahu, you ain't that nigga no more, man. Get out. Like you know what I mean? Like you got to look at what it is. It's and I just because they use dog whistles and they use gaslighting techniques. It's not anti-Semitic to want for humanity. It's not.
Right.
Because the thing is, I'm not okay with the college kids again. Okay, when I talk about the sensationalism being the clickbait, not every college student is forcing a Jewish student not to be able to go to class. Some cases they are, and that's dumb. That's dumb because that's not their plight. You know what I mean? A kid should be able to go to college and feel safe. That's that and express ideas. You know what I mean? I think honestly, I'm for any idea being expressed. You know what I mean? I think anybody should be able to speak on campuses and just hear an idea. And I think also you should be challenged, and I think you should also accept that there are going to be students who don't want to hear you. You know what I mean? I think all of it can be true. I think we all, as humanity, have the capacity to hold multiple ideas at once. I don't think it has to be one dimensional, but I think the foundation has to be empathy. It has to be, I think, because because we've watched it in Greed. Look, there's fucking bird flu and cow. You know what I mean? Why? Because in the conditions animals are being bred in. You know what I mean? Why? Because profit over people, profit over health, profit over this, and it's like, how much fucking money can you make? At one fucking point, there's a great series, A Man on Fold with Jeff Dumb and Dumber, Jeff Daniels, right? And like there's a scene. This guy's a great asshole, a fan, great whole asshole, right? But there's a scene where he's like, "Am I that much of a piece of shit where I'm gonna do this?" And he had to ask himself that. Like, I get it. Look, sometimes we all get caught up. We get caught up. I know what it's like seeing a couple of racks in your bank account for the first time. It's like, holy shit, I've never seen that much. You know what I mean? So I can't even fathom what it's like looking at your account and seeing zero, zero, zero. But how many zeros is enough?
Yeah.
How many zeros are you willing to sell your soul for? And not even on a religious thing, but it's like soul, just like humanity. How many sleeping pills do you need to take to go to sleep because you can't live with your decisions, but you just like living with that? Like, if we don't see each other, eventually the violence, the breakout. I told you the survival mode. I don't judge people on survival mode. If that gap between the haves and the have-nots, if that continues to grow, we'll see each other as each other's enemies. And I hope we don't go to a point of no return. You know what I mean? And again, we got a choice to make here. You know what I mean? Are we gonna hold our politicians accountable and say, stop, we want a better world for everyone? Or are we gonna have our choices, our preferences? You know what I mean? And I think that the latter is gonna come with a lot of heartache that we won't be able to recover from. So that's what I mean by the lack of empathy. If we don't see each other, it's gonna explode. And to the point, because I think about, well, like friends like you guys. You guys have kids.
Yeah.
I think about I've got nephews, I've got nieces. It's like I think about what world are we leaving them?
Our conversation with Lyndon was going so well that we're going to stop here and we're going to save the rest of it for another episode. So join us for part 2 next time. There's still so much more to come.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe, share it with your friends. We are Moxie Press on all socials. Until then, lead with Moxie.